Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to a late night session of the CryptoManiacs podcast. I don't know, man. I mean, I know we've been doing these shows in the afternoons for forever, but I like the late nights, man. It gives me time to catch up, or no, or you want to do the
Well,
morning?
I mean, I can't speak for you. I mean, you like it. I think it stinks. I like the for me it's mid afternoon or early afternoon. We started at 1 o'clock Eastern time,
Right.
my time, 11 your time, so it's late morning for you. Um, I don't know. I just like doing it early in the day. This cuts into my posting time. But it's we have to be flexible because that's what we do with Cryptomaniacs, no matter what. And John, if you're tuning in and you didn't know, John had a scheduling change for a while, so we are going to accommodate him by having this at night, and that's just what we do on Cryptomaniacs. We
Yeah.
show up, we persevere, and we're consistent and dedicated, and you know that's what
We
we do.
we try.
And
And
I'm actually seeing John. I don't know if it's us or people think they're coming up on it with it on their own. I've seen like 3 articles in the last couple of weeks about like success on Hive starts with consistency, and it's like, no kidding. I heard that somewhere. Where'd that come from? And I'm
Jeez.
not saying I've articles are from you. It's other people. It's like, well,
Yeah.
maybe the idea is starting to spread to people.
I hope so. If anything, hopefully we leave that for Hive, right? Stay
Yeah.
the course.
Well, I did see, I'm such an asshole. I did see a guy post an article about or a thread, excuse me. I reached my goal. I set a goal of 8 blogs for the month of January. I reached it. And I'm thinking that's 2 fucking days. A month, that's 2 days. What are you doing, pal? Raise your bar. And people are saying congratulations. It's like set a bar. At least one a day. And
At
if you don't
least,
do one a
yeah,
day, just do what Jimmy does and make sure you do like 6,000 threads and 60,000 views and 25 comments.
perfect.
Yeah,
Apologies to everyone that might be listening in on this one. Obviously, you see that I don't have my microphone, so we are at the mercy of the MacBook, the MacBook Air. Um, so
you actually sound okay. You don't need the mic.
Well, it's double whammy. I got that. I got the bird squawking in the background, of course. But I also am just getting over a bout of COVID. I find after 5 years, I finally fell victim to the vid, and I'm a bit nasally still. So apologies for the recording, or if it sounds a little. Yes, Eliana, this show is sponsored by Mac. No, it's actually we're gonna get sponsored by For Hims. That's the hair product stuff where you can grow your hair back. Apparently, that's what
That or Chia Pet.
be a pet. Yeah, that would work. The pottery that grows. Um, so, dude, like I've been like just okay. My life is just a complete utter disaster. Just trying to do the schooling, trying to do this. Then I get COVID, and it's just been a complete
And the
mess.
Bills lose.
Yeah, the Bills lose. Like, geez, like, thanks for reminding me. I forgot about that until you brought it back. Thank you. So you're gonna have to play update weekend update with Taskmaster. What's been going on Hive over the past week and a half? Because
I
I'm
don't know. I posted comments. I posted blog posts. I posted threads. Actually, I wish I had known because I would have made a list. Uh, and no, because shit, what the hell's the name of it? There's. I wrote a post about this yesterday. There's been some good things going on. Um, we now have that I know of, and I've never been on Ecency. Somebody has said Ecency has it, but in addition to Hive Wallet, there are now two other options for the internal market. There's the one that's Hive Hub, I think it's called. It
yeah,
was
Hive
put out
Hub. Yeah, that's the
by
PT one.
the PTD team,
Right.
and I think it's called Hive Dex.
Yeah, I saw Dan tweet about it yesterday or something.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that was another, and that actually looks a lot like, if you've used exchanges, that looks a lot like an exchange.
Mm.
So, and I have never been able to verify if Ecency has the internal market tied into its app. Somebody said it was. I don't know.
I'll check
But
right now.
yeah, while you're checking, either way, we have that I know of at least three ways to access the internal exchange, and there may be some others. And my hope is that most applications start to integrate this in, because it comes from the point of resiliency. If one of them gets taken down, there's others. So when you start to look at what makes Hive so powerful with our blogging, is simply the fact that there's probably a dozen different front ends that provide the opportunity for blogging. I mean, you got CTP, you got Leo Finance, you got Peak D, you got HiBlog, you got ActiFit. It's technically, you could write a 500-word blog post if you wanted through there. You of course have STEM Geeks and PAL and Ecency and all these others. There's another mobile app that he's actually working with the Three Speak team. I don't know exactly what he's doing with their team, but he's actually on the side creating a mobile app. So you have all these different front ends, and the internal exchange. It's good to have access to that through many different applications, also.
Mm.
So this just creates more resiliency.
I couldn't check exactly, like you can stake it and you can convert it and stuff in the app, but I didn't see like a market. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure it's there, but
Yeah, and it might be they just allow it. It's just you don't see the whole thing. They haven't incorporated all in the front end, but they're
right,
tied in on the back end, and so you can do your swap right through their wallet, which is fine. At least then you have access to it, and you have the ability to swap in and out from Hive to HBD and vice versa.
right.
So I thought that was a nice development and some nice announcements. And of course, this is tying into one of my areas of focus of high back dollar and what's going on there. Then we have, shit, I wish you had, I wish I had known. Can you pull up can you pull up my Peak D, the Taskmaster 4450 Peak D?
Yeah.
And just go to the last post up there will be a video. The post this morning before that. Um, what was that post?
Swift's decision.
No, yesterday's post. Then
The video.
nope, the written post.
Couple new developments on
Yes,
Hive.
yes. Now that's when I talked about Hive Decks. But what was the name of the other one?
Please hold.
Technical difficulties. Please stand by. I don't.
Yeah.
I just keep.
Hive Hub.
No, that's also that's the Peak D internal exchange. It'd be
Hive Spaces.
what?
Hive Spaces.
Hive Spaces under there. What's the name of
Cast Garden.
what's that?
Hive Tube is a development of the Hive Tube.
No, what garden?
Cast Garden.
Cast Garden. That's it.
Mm.
Click that. That's I think that should I have it highlighted. You can click on that, John. That actually takes it to the website. That is a new video and streaming platform on Hive. I believe it's streaming. It's tied into, at least if it's not streaming, it's a video platform that's tied into V4V.
Okay.
So you can do the V4V and the streaming sats or streaming HBD and Hive through there. And I put out on Twitter, I asked about it, and some people like Steve C., who is a longtime Hive user, is putting all his stuff up there. So there's a lot of people who feel this is a very nice addition to the Hive ecosystem. And of course, once again, the more video that's there, the better. Now, this is built on the peerless technology. This is through, you just said it, John, Hive.
Hive Tube, it's called.
HiveTube. This is from the HiveTube team. So,
what's HiveTube? What's that?
HiveTube has taken PeerTube, not Peerless, I said PeerTube, which is open source software, and have catered it to Hive. And it seems like they incorporated the proof of brain. HiveTube is the team behind it. They took PeerTube, created it for Hive, which then I guess somebody took what HiveTube created and threw it and made this app, CastGuard.
Huh.
So this is another interesting development on Hive. I think it's just shows the acceleration of the different areas that we're moving into. And I think when you really start to look at this in totality, it looks to me like things are starting to compound, which makes sense when you're dealing with infrastructure and technology, and one person builds one thing, like Brian built the V4V, and now people are incorporating it and all of this other stuff, and you have people building mobile apps, and you have threads, and you have views, and you have all these different things taking place simultaneously. Even if they're going in their own direction, all of a sudden they look around and say, oh, great, we can incorporate that. And it's like Hive Hub, I believe that's DHF funded. That's open source. So any application can grab that and incorporate it. You know, I don't know if you can incorporate it into your own app. I guess you could take part of the code, but you know, the idea is you could take that app, relabel it, rename it, and it's yours.
I saw something the Hash Kings guys were working on. I don't know if you saw this. D-Learn. Did you see that?
D-Learn. That looks like they are setting up a how do I phrase this? It's kind of like an essency of education, where they're setting up a template, if you will, or a platform where anybody who wants to provide educational material can go to, and they basically have the structure for you to then provide your courses and whatnot.
Udemy. It's like Udemy, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm not really familiar with those courses, but yeah, I guess like kind of like a Udemy.
Yeah, I as soon as I saw that, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is like so cool. Like, and then there was more use case for HBD, because apparently that's how how you get paid, right? Like you put your courses up, and it's not, you know, like US dollars. It's hey, we'll accept HBD, and we'll teach you about vlogging, or we'll teach you about content creation, or Task will teach you about, you know, hair growth for men. I don't know what, you know, whatever you really want to put out there in the world. So
yeah, I mean, that's, as I've been saying for the last 18 months since I really honed in on HBD. One of the incredible things about Hive is we have our stable-ish coin and our value capture coin, both at the base layer, and both are actually correlated to each other. And we always hear, well, we need to get on exchanges, and we need this, and we need these others outside of us. No, the difference is with Hive, we have the ability to build ourselves around these tools. Yeah. And so we have this stable coin. We have the ability to build around It's a fantastic medium of exchange, fast and feeless, zero transaction cost, zero merchant cost. I mean, if I send John 5 HBD, John gets 5 HBD. If I send John's store 5 HBD, John's store gets 5 HBD. If I swipe a Visa card through, or put up an online payment through PayPal, if John's store hasn't been canceled, which there's a 62% chance that happens, if
Yeah.
it hasn't been canceled, he doesn't get the whole $5 because they take out a transaction. I mean, they take out a processing fee.
Yeah.
And we don't have that with Hive. It's like 100% that's sent to the merchant. The merchant gets. It's 3-second transaction time, a few hundred milliseconds, 1 block irreversibility. So we have the ability to build around it, and it's great to see that. Roanoke, Ragnarok is going to be exclusively HBD for entry fees and all that type of stuff. For the NFTs or whatever the heck they sell, in-game assets or whatever is sold. So these are use cases that we are creating ourselves. And if everybody within the ecosystem said, we're just going to accept HBD, I mean, then things start to take off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, we've talked about this before, but it's, you've been on this for about over a year now with the HBD stuff, and I had this kind of epiphany and kind of like realization that I had my hands in too many things, and what is really important to me. And I kept saying HBD 20%, HBD 20%. So me personally, that's been my focus going into the new year, was kind of like, not saying trimming the fat, but keeping my focus on accumulating the HBD, because I want to stack it. I want to earn dividends and income from it, but I also want to be able to use it. So we're, Eliana, Blaine, and myself, we're always working on things. That's one of the major, missions I want. I want to accumulate HBD this year, and that's what we're going to do. Is in a lot of the projects we're going to have, you can pay with HBD. For entrepreneurs, side note, very important to note, on the blockchain level, you can do subscriptions with HBD and Hive too, but that's really, really powerful for residual income, for membership and monthly business models. That's huge, and that's just fits perfectly to what we're doing, and that's why it's just mission HBD for me in 2023. So,
Yeah, and because it's a stable coin, it's like right now, and this is a problem with Bitcoin. If you want me to pay you in Bitcoin, John, right now, or if you want anybody to pay in Bitcoin right now, it's probably a ludicrous idea, because I think most people who are fans of Bitcoin believe the risk reward, the upside versus downside, there's a lot more move to the upside than to the downside, which makes sense. You're at 23,000. And if this thing indeed is going to 100,000, which many people believe, why would I pay 4 times the amount in future dollars to buy your product, or to buy your hamburger, or to buy whatever? Why would I do that if it's going to go up 4 times? And the same thing with Hive. If you believe Hive could see like 350, well, that's like a 9x from where we are at now. So John's $10 course would effectively cost me $90. Now, okay, you don't look at that because it's in future money, but that's how people think. And it's like, well, send you 10 HBD. I know, or I'm pretty sure that in a year from now, 10 HBD will still be 10 HBD. So, now you get into like things like currency exchange and currency risk and forex risk, it's called, which, this is what multinational corporations have to deal with, and these are decisions they have to make in terms of their currency, and where do they keep their currency. I mean, if they're selling stuff in Japan and they get all this yen coming in, do they keep it in yen, or do they transfer it to something else? depending on where the exchange rates are and where they believe the yen's going versus the euro or whatever. And it's the same thing with this, but to a much lesser degree. So for people right now to spend their Hive, it's ludicrous, in my opinion. I mean, that's just my opinion. But I think the upside of Hive is a lot higher 3 years from now than where it is now. HBD is the ideal tool. You don't have to worry about that. It's worth $1 worth of Hive. And so you send one HBD, it'll be 10 HBD will be worth 10 HBD, which is around $10 a year from now. So I think it's very important for different platforms, projects, applications to start incorporating this as much as they can and to start setting up these payment channels within their ecosystem, because that's one of the things that I believe will add value to their own token is the ecosystem, and commerce being a big one is get that HBD flowing, get the commerce flowing, and that'll add value to your platform, which should be reflected ultimately in the token that you have representing that. And that's, we've talked about this in relation to views. Okay, that's not commerce, but in terms of an application, a network effect, a user growth, all that other stuff, I think views adds tremendous value to the CTP token long term, because I think it's something that's so different, was successful on the outside, and done properly could get, millions of users. Why StumbleUpon did, and they actually screwed it up.
Yeah, the legendarily too. Let's clown on Maxis for a second, because you brought it's always fun. Something that you brought up made me realize, like, this is going to be a big problem for the Maxis and the whole approach that they have in the world, that Bitcoin is sound money and this, that, and the third. Like, none of them want to get rid of it, because they, like you said, they all think it's going to be $100,000 or $1 million. So there's only 21 million of them, and yeah. Well, what good is it? Like, you're not, like, you're not going to spend it. So the argument that they always throw, that this is sound money, and well, don't you need to send and receive money for it to, like, have value? Like, I don't understand the fascination that a lot of these people have with just holding on to crypto. Like, we need to use this stuff, or else it's just show money. Like,
now you're fucking winding me up, John.
well, that's what I try to do.
I mentioned the Bills losing in Ethereum and MetaMask, and you just turn around and go into finance and money and Bitcoin maxis. Next thing you know is you'll throw the gold bugs at me just to really set me up.
Any time I can throw a maxi under the bus, I will.
What you have and what you described is exactly accurate, but it's not only Bitcoin, it's CTP, it's Leo. It's Hive. You have to look at your medium of exchange versus your store of value. Now, your medium of exchange has to have a store of value, but this is why I equated, and this is why I use the term for these coins and tokens as value capture, because they have the properties more like Tesla or Home Depot. Why did I buy more Tesla today? Is it because I want to send you some Tesla, John? No. I bought more Tesla today because I believe Tesla is going to be a lot higher than $141 or whatever the hell it was that I bought it at. So I'm looking at the appreciation. I'm looking at the speculation aspect of things. I've been holding Tesla for a number of years. I'm going to hold Tesla. It's in a retirement account, so I have to hold it. Well, I don't have to hold it, but I can't access the money. But I'm holding it for a number of years. This is a long-term play. Same thing with Hive. It's a long-term play. Same thing with my Bitcoin, that I only have a little bit of Bitcoin, but I got a lot of GBTC. Long-term play. Why am I not going to spend it? Because of the speculative nature. And that's where I think the industry went awry, is because it has the term currency in it. To me, CTP is not a currency. Leo is not a currency. Hive's not a currency. They're digital assets. They're different digital assets than an NFT, but they're no different than an NFT because you're not going to use NFTs to buy a cup of coffee either. You're going to use NFTs. Granted, they have some different properties associated with them, so we'll leave those aside, like royalties and stuff like that. But a lot of the things associated with NFTs is speculation. That's fine. You buy an NFT and you want to get all kinds of stuff, returns out of it. Even like the Adidas NFT. Cal was talking about that today. He went and bought an Adidas NFT and he's gotten like, sweatsuits and hoodies, and he's gotten merchandise from them. It's tied to the NFT. So that's fine. We can look at that as a dividend or a return or whatever term you want to use with it. He's getting something out of it. But none of that's being used as a medium of exchange. And so I agree with you 1,000%. The problem the maxis have is Bitcoin is a shitty medium of exchange. Number one, people believe in the speculative nature, which they should because it's proven itself to be a great return. So they're not apt to spend it. That's number one. Number two, their network is not very strong. So when you think about our monetary system, part of it is communications. Everything from your banking system to your Visa system. Visa is just a big old computer network. That's what it is. So we have our monetary systems, network upon network upon network upon network, all intermingled. And so when you go to the ATM, you got Sirius, you got your bank, you got your central bank system, you got the chip system, you got Swift network, you got all kinds of networks involved, all doing different things. Well, Bitcoin's 13-year-old technology, and the network hasn't improved at all. So when you look at Hive's network, we were updated 2.5 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever it was. We had a significant update. And so we keep updating the network and the abilities of the network and adding monetary features like you just mentioned, which it was actually a couple hard forks ago, the recurrent payment system. That is another feature that makes the network more valuable. Then, we have the decentralization of the, 20+1 validation system. Then you have the distribution of the token where nobody has more than like 4 or 5% of the token. Then you have the fact that we have feeless systems, 1 block irreversibility, 3-second transaction time, where we have nodes all over the world. On and on it goes. And so I think you're absolutely correct. All of this stuff is misnamed as currency. To me, stable coins are the only ones that have the currency feature because they're the only ones that are going to have the medium of exchange. Everything else is either, and Bitcoin, the problem with Bitcoin, I can't even equate that to a Tesla. I can't even equate that to a Home Depot because Bitcoin, the only value it captures, because all it does is just transact back and forth. So to me, the digital gold makes sense because that's really, in my opinion, all it has to hang its hat on. Even at least Ethereum has smart contracts, so you can get DeFi, you can get gaming, you can get this, you can get that. The ecosystem can support a lot because it has the smart contract capability. Bitcoin doesn't have that. So, that's where I think the difference in my view is between Bitcoin and Ethereum is at least Ethereum. You can dislike the speed, you can dislike the centralization now, the way the proof of stake works, all of that, fine. But at least Ethereum, the token itself, the coin, captures value for development within the ecosystem that is more than just a bank transaction of point A, wallet A to wallet B.
Well, you can build on it, right?
Yeah, you can build on it. You can utilize it. They can expand to different areas. Will that happen based upon the fees? Who knows? But Ethereum knocks the fees down with their next update, their next hard fork. Well, then maybe they're going to be competitive in that nature. But then you have the centralization problem and all this other stuff that people are starting to get aware of.
Mm. Yeah, it's just one of those things that I'm always like fascinated with because they're staunch, like staunch maximalist attitude of like this is it, it's only Bitcoin, everything else is a scam. Everything else sucks and it's just Bitcoin or bust.
Well,
And then I
I
just
did write a post the other day. If you could scroll back through my 4450, not the Leo, the 4450, go
mm,
back about 4 days since you haven't done any reading. And
I haven't.
I got, even on Hive, I got some maxis upset. And, to be honest with you, John, it comes out of the gold book bug background. It's this deflationary money. It's not understanding money. It's not understanding monetary history. It's this idea. I mean, I wrote a post the other day about the petrodollar myth. I mean, the idea that the dollar only has value because, well, it had the gold standard. Then after that, well, it has to be some type of commodity. So, okay, oil was priced in dollars, so it's the
Right.
petrodollar. Well, why don't we call it the wheat dollar? Because most of the wheat sold in the world is priced in dollars. It's and this is the problem. I sent out a tweet earlier today. One of the reasons why cryptocurrency seems to fail is there's so many people designing these projects that don't have an understanding of money. I mean, they don't understand the basics and the reality, not the mythology, not the ideology, not the stuff that, oh well, I listened to 1,000 hours of these YouTubers who tell you exactly how it is and why this entity is so evil and why inflation bad and
Yeah.
deflation good and we need deflationary money. Well, you've had deflationary money for the last 15 months if you understand the Eurodollar system. And guess what? The growth rates around the world, the economic growth rates have sucked. The Great Depression was known for its deflationary atmosphere. That wasn't very good for people. And these are things that people, oh, inflation bad, so
Mm,
deflation good. And it's like, prices come down. Yeah. And unemployment goes up because when prices come down and earnings come down, companies fire people. That's what they do. Um, so yeah, it's you said it's interesting and it's just grounded in insanity, John. I mean, it really is. I know enough about the banking system. I know enough about economics. I know enough about finance. I know enough about the history of money. And, you know, for the last 500 years, um, since Luca Pacioli came out with double entry bookkeeping, um, ledger-based money has been with us for 500 years. I mean,
mm,
that's what made the great banking institutions in Europe is the liabilities, the ability to offer out credit. So this is nothing new. And this idea
yeah.
that we've always been coinage and metal based, and that's what gave money value. And in fact, I use this term, hive economy. That's what ultimately is going to give HBD value, is the hive economy. What what stands behind this coin? The people, the community, the development, the
Development.
users, the
Yeah.
commerce, the finance, all this stuff. That's the hive economy, and that's what backs these currencies, and that's what backs the HBD. And you can say, well, it's Hive back in HBD. Yes, well, Hive captures all that value and incorporates it. And by the way, if you want to do anything with HBD, guess what you need? Hive power, because you need
High
resources.
power. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Hive is actually the premier, if you ask me, the premier access token. You need Hive to access the blockchain and do all these other things.
Oh, transition a little bit because you kind of touched on Hive, and I'm going to share a story. I always frequent traditional social media, and over the years, Blaine Elian and I have introduced Hive to numbers of people through the CTP community, and people come and go all the time. It's kind of it's attrition. It's happened in my industry. I'm pretty sure in every industry across
Mhm.
the spectrum that people come and go all the time. They lose interest, new shiny object, whatever. Life happens. The price of crypto goes down. Whatever reason, people come and go. I was reading a comment from a guy that I introduced Hive to probably like day one, like when we jumped onto the legacy chain.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to laugh, what I'm going to ask you here in a second, but he basically made the post that, you know what, I'm going to jump back into Hive. Life kind of got the worst, and and he tagged me in it on Facebook, and I saw it, and I obviously gave it a like. But I'm thinking, how do we? And this is, I know we're gonna try to just not give the basic, because I know what the answer is gonna be. But how do we, as content creators and fans of this blockchain that have been here consistently for years and years, how do we snap people out of this come and go mentality? How do we get them to see the importance of being in this ecosystem, like you just said, being in this entire, the value token is Hive? How do we get them to look at that and get more of it, to power it up, to be a part of this without looking at that next shiny object? Is there something you think people could like take home today? And I know, like obviously the answer is, go ahead.
On
Sorry.
my list of posts, and again, I talked about this probably about a year and a half ago. And then somebody unrelated to my post, obviously, wrote a book about this, talking about the network state and the idea that Facebook is essentially a network state when you think about it. I mean, Facebook has 2.5 million users.
Billion.
It's global. It's bigger than any country. It's bigger. It has a bigger user base than the two largest country populations, India and China combined.
Yeah.
So, of course, they are a centralized network state. It could even be called an evil state, but it's a network state nonetheless. I think Hive is a decentralized network state. If you believe or understand the network state philosophy, if we can use that term, this idea that these digital networks are going to keep growing and growing in terms of importance in our lives. And now with Hive, with the ability to monetize, with the ability to, and once you monetize, you can create an economy through interaction, engagement, commerce, finance, all this stuff. Through governance. With Facebook, there is no governance other than what comes out of Marky Zuckerberg's head.
Right.
But on Hive and within these different platforms, governance systems can be put in place. You're essentially looking at a state, network state versus nation state. And then the network state idea even goes further into, can these network states actually ultimately then have representation and meet with the nation states or people in the real world and have an influence there? And, that gets into a rabbit hole that we won't go into now. But the idea of being part of, and the term, to throw this out at you, which is very interesting. And it's actually being lost in Canada. It's being lost in the United States. It's being lost in the West, in these countries that basically jump to the lead economically and otherwise because of the way they were structured. And it's the term citizen. Being a citizen of the United States instead of a part of the U.S. population. And having citizens of the country means you enjoy a whole lot of benefits, but it also brings a great deal of responsibility. Being a part of the population does not denote any responsibility. I'm just here. And so when we start to look at Hive and we start to look at the mindset of you, Blaine, Eliana, myself, they call me Dan, Starkers, block trades. They call me Brian of London. Um, all the people we've had on over these last couple years who are tried and true people of Hive. Raymond Speaks, Marky Mark, um, not related to Marky Mark Zuckerberg, our Marky Mark. All these people have the mindset of being citizens. Now, they don't frame it that way. You didn't frame it that way. But if you think about it, we all have this dedication. All have this commitment. We all take up the responsibility for Hive. And we also enjoy a lot of benefits from Hive. And it's a double-edged sword. I mean, everybody who's jealous and the ones complaining, they just look at all those rewards that Django made. They don't look at the effort, the responsibility, the commitment, the dedication, the time, the fact that you give most of your free time or your excess time to this blockchain and this ecosystem. They don't look at that. They just want what you get in terms of the benefits without the responsibility, without the effort. Right. And I know this isn't directly answering your question, but my point being, and I know I'm addressing a much larger issue, but the point being is I think people need to have the mindset of, and we've used the term home, network, state, online, country. I mean, there's a lot of different synonyms we throw out there, and I think they all convey the same thing. This is where I am establishing my digital base from. And by doing that, you and I both did that 5 years ago. In the past 61 to 63, 64 months that we've been here, you and I basically, we didn't move. We did what exactly I said. We were good citizens. We put forth the effort. We put forth the time. We were dedicated. And guess what? The city around us grew. Maybe not in people, but look at all the buildings, if we use that analogy, that we have now. I mean, you and I laugh about, well, when we started here, you had Steam and SHBD. That's it. Now we got, now you start off this show by saying, you know what I realized for 2023? I got to start to focus on a few different things. I had my hands in too many different projects, which means too many different tokens. I have to scale it down. It was like the ICO craze. Remember that? Oh, I got 50, I'm investing in 50 different projects. How the fuck can you even read about 50 different projects, let alone follow them? And, that's what you get to. You get to the point. But we didn't have that 5 years ago. 5 years ago, there wasn't even like a dozen projects on Hive, let alone a dozen tokenized projects. So the opportunities just keep growing. And, when you start to look at views, and yes, I have a bit of inside information, but Views has some really cool plans with it that, to be honest with you, if you're in the habit of utilizing it, it's going to be a fantastic app. I think microblogging on Hive has a ton of potential simply because everybody likes to send out quick hits. Twitter is very popular for a reason. Video obviously is paramount in this day and age. Because of compression, because of our communication system, because of the ability to store and how cheap it's gotten. Video is just a given. And you look at YouTube and TikTok and all this other stuff. All of that is being created on Hive, and we are developing a powerful social media arsenal that I think rivals anything out there. Okay, we can't rival Facebook head to head, but Leica2 is, from what I understand, and I don't use it, you do. Leica2 is a very good application for your Instagram type activities. I mean, there's just no way to deny that. And then when you look at the combination that I believe of social media and finance, and Elon's going to really bring this to the forefront. Well, Elon's got to figure out wallet. He's got to figure out proof of brain. How do you reward people? All this other crap. We have it taken care of. We got the wallet system. We got the tokenization. We have the proof of brain mechanism. We have that at layer 2. It's all here. So that's the message we have to convey. Now, how do you get the light bulb to go off, John? There's the proverbial bring the horse to water. How do you get it to drink? I mean, our good friend Jimmy, he's very open. It took him about a year. It's now what, maybe a year, or maybe it's been 2 years, but he was around a year before the light went off. And since the light went off, he's been balls to the walls with Hive. But it took him a while for the light to go off. Now, this guy knew all your training. This guy had confidence in you. He had experience with you. You told him and told him and told him. I mean, maybe not direct, but you kept saying, you've been saying the same thing over and over again for years. But finally, that one day it went off in his head. What caused it? I mean, if we knew that, we could bottle it and give it to everybody. Unfortunately, I don't know what it takes. And maybe it's just that adoption curve where you look and it goes kind of up like that. And the early stages, I forget what exactly it is. It's like the real techie lunatics first, then the early adopters, then you get the mainstream slope. Right. And, the question is, are we even to the early adopter phase? I guess technically we could be. We're trailblazers. And yes, things are difficult. Yes, it's a pain in the ass. Yes, the nodes don't always work. Yes, there's problems with Leo Financer. There's problems with views at times. There's problems with this. There's problems with that. Blaine needs to sleep once in a while. I mean, there's all these setbacks, but at the end of the day, we're progressing forward. And, another 5 years, John and I won't move. We're still here. And guess what? I would expect the city around us will grow even bigger. So how do you take what I just said in 10 minutes and bottle it up to give it to somebody? I don't know. I mean, it's just commitment, dedication. What are you getting out of your other shit?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there was someone who said this years ago on the legacy change, and I thought it was great. It's like, people are on social media because that's where Grandma Jean is sharing her recipes. That's where your family, so that's what explodes Hive. And it comes to users, but it's that the person that you like the most in this world, they're on here. And you want to go there because that's where they're hanging out. That's the network effect of how Facebook became Facebook. It wasn't like, oh, it was the greatest app ever. If you remember when Facebook first came out, it was a clunk. Like there was a poke me button, it was just, it was.
But hold it. Don't forget, Facebook was initially the colleges, and it spread from college to college. Yeah. And that had the coolness factor too.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Long before it became the family.
Yeah. But I mean,
it's,
that's a question. Like, how do you get, how do you get your friends and family here to want to be here?
Well, I have no friends, and I don't like my family. I think part of it goes back to, and I'm guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. We sit on Twitter and we talk about Hive. It goes back to what you and I talked about 2 years ago. You don't market Hive, you market the apps.
Right.
So we go out there and we talk about views. You go out there and talk about Like It Too. You go out there and talk about Leo Threads. You go out there and talk about these different applications. You talk about 3Speak or Gate Garden or any of these other applications. Right. The other piece of this equation, no matter what you want to do, this is still, there's a technical learning curve. And we're not going to get away from that, because guess what? Life is easy when submit a username, submit a password, hit enter, and go. And if you forget password, hit forget password, and we take care of it. When you're dealing with keys, you're in a different arena, and we're not going to get away from dealing with keys, because if we do that, then we're back to Web 2. We're not Web 3. But I understand what you're saying, and many of us have brought our friends and family to Hive. I think one of the biggest problems was, especially in the time period you were talking, we were bringing them to Hive, which was just a long form blogging platform.
Right.
And
Yeah.
most people we know aren't long form bloggers. So now, maybe you stand a better chance because it's like, hey, grandma, you like to take pictures of your bunion and show them to the entire family. Here, use Like It Too and load it up there. And now everybody can see your latest bunion and you can bitch about it. Now you can use Three Speak for your videos, and they're implementing. I don't know if it's in place yet, but Shorts. So you
Yeah.
can do a 45-second video on your walk and say, "Hey, I had this idea," and throw it out there. Gary V is well known for that, from what I can see. I mean, he's all the time just dropping little quick hits. And that's what Twitter is, just a quick hit idea. Hey, I had this thought about money, or I had this thought about the bills, or I had this thought about, politics, or I had this thought about whatever. And it's like, here it is in 244 characters or less.
Right.
So I think that's part of it is, finding the hot buttons for these users and these family members we're talking to. And it's like, hey, you use Twitter, why don't you use this? But then again, we got to be products of our own product. And I said this on the AMA. I wasn't on it, but I put it in the chat. How many of the lions out there are spending their days on Twitter? I mean, imagine if we got 1/10 of the tweets onto Threads. What would the numbers look like? They'd explode. But you and I both know that that's like trying to pull teeth. You got 100 community members, 90 of them aren't going to do jack shit but complain.
Yeah.
I mean, that just seems to be in every walk of life.
Well, yeah, you said it. I mean, being the product of the product. I've stood by that forever. I've always said that's the key to kind of like practice what you preach. Like if I'm going to tell someone that, you should use Hive because, Three Speak is amazing, but I never upload anything to Three Speak, oh, you should go, use Like To because it's better than Instagram, but I'm always using Instagram.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, I throw out Like To because I don't use it, but
right.
I've gotten feedback from others. I don't use Instagram either, so it's not like
Right. Yeah. No.
Like To and
No, but I'm
Instagram.
just saying, like, just like for the
Yeah.
whole, being a
No,
part
I
of the
understand.
product,
I mean,
like,
I don't profess to use Like To. I say other people have said it, try it out, but from what I understand, I haven't heard anybody complain about the
no, it's great.
functionality or the
No,
utility.
it's great. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
use it. I have no problem recommending it based upon the opinion of others who I highly respect. You being one, you use it, you say it's fine, you great. That's good enough for me. I know you're not bullshit. If it sucked, you say, yeah, it's got issues.
Yeah. It's a lot better than Steep Shot.
Steve Shot, I used that.
I literally had someone in a comment.
Bad. That seemed to work. I don't recall having a problem, but I mean, I certainly was a heavy user.
Before we get out of here, a little rant here. Excuse me. I had someone come onto my blog last week and say that like Hive is just miserable because we didn't bring all of the apps over from Steam to the new blockchain. And one of the apps that they said that stayed on Steam and didn't come over was Steep Shot. And
I thought that was dead years ago. Is that still around?
I thought so too, but apparently this is why Hive is a failure, is because we didn't bring Steep Shot over with us. So sorry,
Well, what was the Twitter on Hive or on Steam?
Zapple.
And that died.
Yeah.
And Steve Shot was put to shame by Epics.
Yeah. What? Jeez, don't even get me started on that. I'm not even.
Which that one went, Telios and who knows what the hell happened. Yeah, it's we got to remember we're in technology.
Yeah.
And there are going to be failures. I mean, it's just not every project's going to work out for a variety of reasons, and not everything we're talking about today is going to be a raging success. Not everything on Hive is going to be a raging success. But, the simple fact is the reason why Hive is not successful is because there was no Steep Shot. Well, we probably got a better version of Steep Shot in Like It To.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying. I mean, Like It To has tremendous potential. I mean, hell, if it takes just a smidgen of the Instagram user base, I mean, that's a major home run. And I'm not saying they will or will not. I have no idea. I don't know their roadmap. But when you have a solid app, that's the key, John. Is when anybody asks, it's like, yes, we do have something for this. Yes, we do have something for that. Well, I
Yeah.
used to use StumbleUpon. Oh, great, we got views. Oh, I used to use Instagram, or I like Instagram. Oh, we got Like It To.
Yeah.
It's no longer we're long form blog content, and you're going to get downvoted to hell unless you put up 1,200 words or more of Gone with the Wind caliber manuscripts.
Right.
That's gone. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I can't create content. Well, yes, you can create content. You just can't create long form written content. Do you use Twitter? Yeah. Well, you create content. Do you create memes? Yes. Well, then you can create content. I mean, and there's places for that stuff now.
Yeah. It's the ecosystem is worth it. Just need to get in here and roll up your sleeves. And I mean, obviously, you and I sitting here every week saying we love Hive is no brainer. But yeah, I just that's my hope this in 2023 that a lot more of these people that might have tried Hive in the past jump back in and really dig their feet in and get moving here, because it's an amazing
Well,
place to be.
I'm in agreement with They Call Me Dan on this one. I think Hive's burst, if you will, Hive's future, Hive's next level will come from the Venezuelas, the Nigerias, the Cubas, the
Yeah.
Ghanas, the areas we're actually changing lives. And it'll be very interesting on Thursday to speak with Hive Cuba to find out what's going on there. I'm also trying to figure out how we can get into the Sucre, the Hive Sucre crowd. And maybe get some of them on to talk about what's going on. And these are areas where we can have an impact immediately. And if some people are having success and others around them see it, you mentioned family and friends. Maybe it's not your family, my family, your friends. I have no friends. Maybe it's not us, but maybe it's the family and friends of the Hivians in Venezuela or in
Right.
Ghana or in
Yeah.
Cuba or in some of these other areas where they can suddenly get on board and make a difference, and we can go viral there. And
Yeah.
then eventually it spreads, because then as our transactions go up, as our number of monthly users go up, as our number of threads goes up, as the number of views, as these projects start to quantify the data and put it out there and say, hey, first month we did 1 million views, last month we did 500 million views or whatever.
Right.
Then these apps can start to go out and promote their growth and their success, and then hopefully that stimulates more of it. What
Yeah.
what is it going to take to kick that off? I mean, I've been talking about this for 5 years, John. As you know, I went back through some of my old posts, and I'm reading through it, and I'm like, shit, I am Peter Schiff. I've been saying the same damn shit for 5 years. It's like, Hive's going to take off. Hive's going to do this. Hive's great. Hive this, Hive this, Hive this. And it's like, the one advantage is I know there's technology involved, and we, had a lot of technological snafus. We had Steemit Inc. in the way. And then, I mean, you just think about it. Hive's not even 3 years old yet on its own.
Mm.
And look at the progress we've made in the 3 years. And we were starting with, hell, I don't even think you could say I'd have to ask Block Trades. If we didn't start at a negative, it was pretty damn close. We may have been better off starting with clean slate and writing the code from line one, because his team spent the first 12 to 18 months just going through clean up the old code.
Yeah.
I mean, they just had a major battle. So, infrastructure so important. The Speak guys are getting close to bringing out their stuff, and that's been shit. How long we've been talking about that? I mean, the airdrop's almost a year old, so That's been going on 2 years. We've been talking about that, but infrastructure takes time.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we'll start to see some cool things at the application level that'll start to attract people. That's ultimately what it's going to come down to. People are not going to give a shit about Hive, especially in the beginning. They're going to give a shit about, this is a cool ass game. This is a cool ass app. This is a cool ass whatever. And I can use it. I like it. And let me tell my friends about it because this is fucking cool. That's what it's all about. And I don't know whether that's views. I don't know whether that's Splinterlands. I don't know whether that's their soccer game Galaxy or whatever the hell the name of it is, Genesis or whatever they called it, the soccer league. I don't know if it's this Mutera, CyberX, Like-A-2. I don't know what it's going to be to capture people's attention, but we got a lot of choices and more choices showing up.
There you go. Folks, thank you for tuning in. Get involved. Remember, today's episode was sponsored by Hair Club for Men, or For Hims, or whatever it's called these days. So thanks for their generous sponsorship.
And what is it? Thursday show is sponsored by Chia Pet?
Chia Pet, yes, on Thursday. So thank you guys for coming. We'll see you guys with Hive Cuba on Thursday. Toodles.
Ciao.